Yo, what's up Guardians? I am Sincere, your Titan connoisseur, and today's video is for the Titan Elite. Today's topic is about the shoulder charge, not as a damage tool, but as a movement utility tool. I'll be breaking down the different types of shoulder charges, how to effectively skate with the Titan shoulder charge, yes, you can still do it, and some tips, tricks, and thoughts. As always, I'll do my best to bring you along this journey with me, but timestamps below for you. Recently, Titans have been in somewhat of an identity crisis since the December patch. This is mainly due to the power vacuum caused after the nerfs to knockout and the passive super regen. Personally, I've always been an elitist and avoided playing bottom tree striker Titan. You guys already know how much I fanboy the Thunder Crash Titan, but this has caused Titan mains to either switch to Warlock or begin tinkering with other subclass trees. In today's video, we'll be looking at shoulder charge in general. So without further ado, let's jump into it. As part of the global ability nerfs, Bungie wanted to reduce the amount of ability kills in the Crucible. A part of this nerf was the damage to shoulder charge. Shoulder charges can no longer one hit, but they have improved target acquisition. This is relevant because prior to the patch, the philosophy behind using shoulder charges was a little bit more gimmicky or for comedic value. But most importantly, the combination of Dune Marches and bottom tree striker Titan was just so ridiculously dominant and popular amongst Titans for good reason. But now we're in a space where we can explore freely, and if you've ever envied the agility of hunters with their dodge or the agility of top tree Dawn's Icarus dash, I'm here to tell you that shoulder charge does a wonderful job at emulating those two examples. Granted, it's not as explosive as Hunter Dodge or Icarus Dash, but as you'll see, combined with a few techniques, it creates the opportunities and jukes people just don't expect from Titans in the Crucible. Let's take a quick peek at the different shoulder charges. Firstly, we have Hammer Strike, found on top tree Hammer Titan. This one, when effectively used, does damage and the AoE weakens enemies around you. Secondly, we have Seismic Strike, found on top tree Striker Titan, which when used, creates an AoE flashbang effect. And finally, we have Shield Bash, found on bottom tree Sentinel. This shoulder charge suppresses on hit, single target only. Now for a few properties of shoulder charge. Property number 1. While making this video, I was curious if there was a difference between the versions of shoulder charge. Their animations are different after all, and it made me think whether or not certain variations of shoulder charges were superior to others. What I was looking for here was if the number of frames of animation varied depending on the type of shoulder charge. The good news is, at least according to my tests, all shoulder charges, both airborne and ground-bound, last roughly 50 to 52 frames before you regain control of your character. Property number 2. The only activation condition for shoulder charge is to reach maximum sprint speed. As long as you maintain momentum, you can cancel the recovery animation of anything you do into a shoulder charge. This means that you are capable of doing the following. You can sprint, slide, peek with your hand cannon, shoot, and then shoulder charge back into cover. You can sprint, slide with your shotgun out, shoot, and then shoulder charge towards an enemy or back into cover. Obviously, in these scenarios, you don't have to commit to shooting your gun, but it's nice to see how far you can push it. Fun fact, you can wait until the very end of your slide animation to activate shoulder charge. The cancel window seems quite lenient, but don't leave it too long. Property number 3. Probably the juiciest part of a shoulder charge is that you can still Titan skate. Granted, it's not Destiny 1 levels momentum chaining, however, you can still do it with effectiveness. To do this, you'll need to be running either strafe jump or catapult, which I personally recommend. And to be honest with you guys, you should be using these jumps already, otherwise you're basically throwing. You also want to bind your jump to the scroll wheel, and with these two things out of the way, you will want to do the following. While scroll wheel jumping, you'll want to pay attention to your reticle and watch as it climbs, and then you'll want to release your shoulder charge at the apex of your jump. Usually it's on the second or third momentum burst that you release. If you do this correctly, you'll maintain a good enough height above ground to allow you to continue chaining lifts or bursts while scroll wheel jumping. This is the most important thing when it comes to shoulder charge skating. Maintaining height above ground is critical. On some maps where you have a natural slope, say on Fortress or just past the stairs on Javelin, these present ideal conditions for shoulder charge skating. You can simply just release your shoulder charge and then chain lifts afterwards. Now for some tips and thoughts. Number 1, because jump height is so important to Titan shoulder charge skating, having good mobility isn't a bad idea. Don't go overboard. I personally like the feel of tier 6 mobility. Mods like Powerful Friends or lightweight weapons work wonders to help with this. For example, the Reese Walker. Tip number 2, it goes without saying, but I don't think shoulder charge itself is the most useful melee as a damage tool, but its utility as a movement tool is absolutely undeniable. Tip number 3, it will take you some time to learn a new playstyle. The shoulder charge mobility playstyle is very different to the traditional Titan playstyle, but in my opinion, it's completely worth it. I'll personally be spending more time to master this. In the process, try not to tunnel on shoulder charging or over juke, and remember to be patient with yourself. Tip number 4, I recommend using either Top Tree Striker or Bottom Tree Sentinel. I recommend Top Tree Striker because the double grenade utility is amazing, along with the mobility to help get you out of sticky situations. The other additional bonus is that it has great synergy with the Surplus perk, contributing to a very slick, snappy and fast playstyle. Tip number 5 is around the Sentinel shoulder charge specifically. While all shoulder charges recover within approximately 50 frames or just less than a second, the Sentinel shoulder charge animation keeps you slightly more airborne, allowing you to chain lifts slightly easier than Seismic Strike or Hammer Strike. Try this out and let me know. It could just be some personal bias on my part. While objectively not as strong as Top Tree Striker Titan, I chose to play with the Bottom Tree Sentinel the most because I barely play Sentinel and I have been having a blast. Tip number 6, Hammer Titan isn't bad, however for me personally the super is just not worth trading the entire neutral game. And finally, to wrap things up here, shoulder charge undeniably adds a different dimension to the Titan toolkit, and people just don't expect the jukes or the movement that you can make with it. It has tremendous outplay potential and offers you an escape rope in very tight situations. Above all else, it is extremely fun to use and play. If you're one of the Titan Elite, I definitely recommend giving this a go, without a shadow of doubt. That's it for today. Your boy Sincere signing out.